everyone. First, Ash and I are still together. I just wanted to get that out of the way because I know probably some of you were wondering that from the title. I've mentioned that I want to be as open and as honest with you guys as possible on this channel. So I think it's time for me to tell you all about my breakup that I had around this time actually last year. So before we really dive into the actual grit of the story, let's back it up a little bit and start at the beginning of the two of us. Ash and I met in high school. So yes, we're high school sweethearts. Actually, most of my graduating class that were dating, like the couples that were dating, are still together now, or they've gotten married. So that's kind of interesting. I think there's like 6 or 7 of us. Already getting off track. It's safe to say that we've been through a lot together throughout the past 14 years. That is a very long time. When we started seeing each other, we were the talk of the entire school. At that time, 2 girls being together was completely out of the norm. By no means am I saying society is perfect now, but oh my god, it is a hell of a lot better. Pretty sure now, if like there's a gay couple in your school, you wouldn't think twice about it. But back then, it was a huge deal. Now, me personally, I'm very lucky. I have an incredibly loving family and a great support system, and especially my father. In that department, I've definitely won the lottery. I can truly say my dad has 100% always supported me no matter what. So my coming out portion really didn't last that long. Unfortunately with Ash, it's been a completely different story. Her family has never really supported our relationship or supported her orientation for that matter. It is something that we always avoided talking about. It never ended well, so I just kind of ignored it and put it on the back burner. Seeing each other was always super challenging, mainly because we had to hide it. We even had to make up certain clubs at school so we could hang out after hours. We would just hang out in the halls and talk after classes and stuff, and that was really the only time we could really see each other outside of school, even though we were still technically in the school. Other than that, we hung out in groups of people to make it easier to hide our relationship. This is something that has always weighed really heavy on me, and I'm sure it has on her as well. It was the catalyst for me always feeling hidden or this giant secret. As we got older, seeing each other got easier. She got a car, we could go do things together. So I feel like we just accepted that that was an issue that couldn't be resolved, or we just couldn't talk about it because it wasn't really going to go anywhere. And she was always welcome at my house, so things definitely got easier for the both of us. I really don't want this video to focus solely on the problems per se. One reason being is I truly believe there's always 2 sides to every story, and this is only one side. So instead, I'm going to try and focus on me and on my feelings at the time, and briefly touch upon the reasons I felt the way I did. I was the one that ended things, and it was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my entire life. We had 13 years of history, love, and friendship, so you can imagine how incredibly difficult it was. So I guess the question you all have right now is why? Well, it was for many reasons. At the time, I was about 7 months into my weight loss journey. There were so many things in my life going in the right direction. The weight was coming off, I was getting healthier, my anxiety was decreasing, but in terms of my actual relationship, it just didn't feel like a relationship anymore. Now, don't get me wrong, there was definitely still love there. There has always been love there. I've always loved Ashley since the beginning. In fact, I probably fell too fast. I was definitely the first one to say I love you. But at this point, something inside me had broken. I was numb. I've thought long and hard as to why this happened to me, and I have come to the conclusion it was because I had finally started to put myself first. For the majority of my life, I had put others before me, before my health, my mental state. I always came last. I think this all kind of started when my mom passed away. It was when I was 13 years old. And I remember feeling like I always had to be the strong one, the one that, took care of everyone else. So I became really good at hiding my emotions and keeping everything inside, which is why I was in pain for so long and wasn't able to communicate that, from not being accepted by her family and her having to deal with that, which broke my heart constantly. I felt I was always giving 100%, and that wasn't being reciprocated. Ash has also had a really hard time accepting herself. And that is in large part due to the people that should care about you and should support you the most not really accepting who she is. I was and have pretty much always been out and proud in that department, whereas she's always been a little bit more subdued. This is one of the things that has always really hurt me the most, and I've definitely kept to myself. Just let it go, push it under the rug, and tried my hardest just to ignore it. But I can tell you that when you hold someone's hand and they rip it away when someone can see, a little part of you dies. I don't want you guys to think that this was anyone's fault in particular, because really and truly a relationship takes two people. Looking back, I should have communicated my feelings to her. I just couldn't do it at the time. So my emotions and my feelings built up so much that my mind actually had to create a barrier, and that's why I went numb, just to protect myself. The mind is super protective. It does what it needs to do to function. So pretty much that part of my brain shut down. At this time, Ash had also started taking on a lot more responsibility at work, which is actually something I love the most about her. She is quite possibly the hardest worker I know, hands down. She always challenges herself, and because of that, she often takes on more than she can chew. So she was busy all the time, and she worked insane hours. Between her job and me practically living at the gym, we barely saw each other. There were days where she was so caught up and busy with work that we just wouldn't talk at all. Now, I think it's very important for two individuals in a couple to be independent and to have their own lives. But I think in our case, we had just separated so much that something had just shifted in me, and I needed to find myself again. At the time, I didn't believe that was something I could do with her. So I ended things. And about 2 weeks into the breakup, my numbness started to clear up and I started to feel things again. And that's when things really hit me, because I didn't have my best friend anymore. I had all these emotions and I wanted to talk to my best friend and I couldn't. It's crazy because in some ways, a breakup is actually harder to process than losing a loved one. It's the fact that that person is still there, you just aren't talking to them anymore. You're no longer part of their lives and you're no longer creating memories with them. It was really hard. We were apart for just over 2 months before we started talking again. 2 months doesn't seem like a long time, but honest to God, it felt like an eternity. That being said, I feel like it needed to happen. Our relationship is the strongest it's ever been. I openly talk about my feelings on a regular basis, and she makes me feel safe to do so. There is passion and romance that we had lost along the way, and in fact, I feel like there's a little bit more of that there now, in that department altogether. It's very fresh and exciting, and I'm happy to report that now when we walk in public, she holds my hand, and in fact, she's usually the one to grab it, and she doesn't let go. I think we needed the time apart to figure out what we wanted, what was most important. Sometimes you don't realize what you have until it's gone. And the same can be said for your eyes opening up to things that you wish you could have done differently. And truth be told, I think that's something super positive that we're all going to be taking from this whole scenario we're going through right now. I hope that we all appreciate the small little luxuries that we have and never take them for granted again. I wanted to make this video to be honest, but also to shed light on relationships. They are work. But despite bumps in the road, things will always work out. Whether that means you get back together with a partner or the two of you part ways and move on to happier, healthier lives. I'm so lucky to be going through this fresh start with someone I love more than anything. And for once in my life, I am excited to see where my life takes me. I have the girl, I have my health, I am one lucky lady. Right now it sucks because of this whole quarantine horseshit, but that being said, we're doing very well despite the restrictions. Her and I often joke because this time last year we weren't talking at all and we were separated. Again, we're separated, but this time we're talking, so at least I guess that's an improvement. Fingers crossed things loosen up soon. Oh, sweet baby Jesus. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this very deep storytelling. If you did, don't forget to smack that like button. Comment down below with questions or just in general. And if you aren't already, please subscribe to my channel for more videos. And until next time, guys, stay safe.